Well, let's thank you very much. We're happy to be a part of what's going on with the iCAN program there in New York. And the slogan just fits anywhere in the world. I'm here in Dubai, but I'm broadcasting from Abu Dhabi today. I live in Abu Dhabi. We have two offices in Dubai and one in Abu Dhabi. And it's an amazing thing when you look at where technology is today, as opposed to where it was when I started working for Datapoint Corporation back in 1983, living in San Antonio, Texas. We thought divestiture with Southwestern Bell and the Baby Bells and AT&T was a big deal back then. We saw companies move south toward the border and down into Mexico as a result of NAFTA. And at that time, Southwestern Bell and AT&T moving their operations down, international operations to San Antonio, Texas was a big deal. Today, it's not as big a deal. I mean, we see companies all over the world merging, doing offshore operations and other forms of business programs that are just amazing today. But with technology like Skype that we're using today and other forms of enhancements now, we basically have condensed and collapsed timeframes to where I'm at 5:30 in the late afternoon, early evening, and you guys, I think, are at 9:30 early morning. So basically, we're crossing time zones by using technology now. And we literally can take my mouse, give it to Jeremy or give it to Les over there, and they could show you and move everything around on my screen, or I could do the same thing on theirs. We could bring each other into the same time zone and make our presentations. It's a powerful thing. So when we start talking about high tech or clean tech, this technology we're using today makes the point for us that we could be in two different time zones, two different cities across two different sides of the world, and still be in the same place at the same time via, video webcam type technology. So again, Les, it's good to be a part of what you're doing there in New York. We're glad to be partners with iCAN New York. And today we're announcing iCAN UAE, or iCAN, the United Arab Emirates, Abu Dhabi, and Dubai, with TLB Enterprises Holding Group. And I'm excited about this because we had searched far and high and low and wide and deep for the right partner to help us launch our global operations over here. We've been doing network support and networking for some time, and we wanted to expand the boundaries beyond what people normally can think about or do when it comes to business. With technology today, we can shrink those boundaries and shrink the timelines and time zones so that we can actually work through digital services and provisions in the same space at the same time via the World Wide Web. And that's what this partnership that we're launching with you there in New York is all about. It's about taking the best of what's on your side of the Atlantic and the best of what's over here and putting the two together. I think when we think about what is the climate like here for business in the UAE, we have to talk a little bit about what the climate is like for business in the US. It's been a brutal past 7 years for most small businesses and medium-sized businesses, and I don't have to tell you guys that. I came here in 2013, the early part of 2012. It's now 2013, and within 14 months, we've been able to expand our business into a global operation and network that we're now tied in with iCAN and other research and development universities in the state of Florida and state of Texas and Arkansas right now. You probably can tell from my southern accent, I'm not from New York. I'm not a New Yorker. I'm an Arkansan. So I grew up in Arkansas, in the deep south, and I'm sure with my drawl, you can tell them I'm not from New York. But I am an American, and I'm proud to be an American. I'm proud to be here in the UAE, in the United Arab Emirates, expanding opportunities for U.S. businesses, as well as opportunities to share what we have by way of technological expertise, advancements in technology, and expanding those boundaries beyond what they actually have here. When we talk about the climate for U.S. business in the United States, We have a deficit problem, obviously, that's been talked about, the fiscal cliff and all these things that are going on. It's going to blow your mind when I show you some of the information surrounding the economic status of what's happening here. I'll kind of make the point for you. There are several places throughout these emirates. They have 7 or crucial states or states in the United Arab Emirates. And each state is named after, they have the major city named after the state. For instance, Dubai, Dubai. Abu Dhabi, Abu Dhabi. Abu Dhabi is really the capital city of the United Arab Emirates and the capital emirate or state. It is where the royal family resides, but most people have heard about Dubai. Dubai has the tallest building in the world, has the tallest hotel, well, now the 3 tallest hotels in the world, the 2 largest malls in the world, all within a 4-block radius of each other just about. They have an intersection where the street, and I kid you not, is made out of marble as well as the curbs in downtown Dubai. Same thing in Abu Dhabi when you get close to the Royal Palace and Emirates Palace Hotel. This speaks to they don't have a money problem here. The problem they do have is the first screen that you're looking at. It's a knowledge gap. This country is less than 40 years or just a bit over 40 years old. And that's, the United States is a baby when you think about world history. But 40 years old? The only place that I've ever been, and I've been a few places in the world, that's ever knocked my socks off the first time I went there with buildings was New York. And I can tell you, take New York and put it on steroids. That's what it looks like over here. It is amazing the kind of building that's going on. In a city of less than 1 million people here in Abu Dhabi, there's over $1.2 trillion worth of infrastructure projects going on. Just infrastructure, not buildings, just infrastructure. Water, sanitary sewer, expanded energy, and those kinds of things. It's an amazing thing to see. But what does that mean for you is the question. What's in it for you? And so I'm going to take a moment here in the first half of my presentation, and share with the audience on that side, and I'll ask you to change your slides as I change mine, and we'll go through this. Here in the region, what we call the GCC region, which is the Gulf Cooperative Council region. Secretary of State Clinton was here before she left office just shortly. Secretary of State Kerry was here just last week. I met with the U.S. ambassador here the week before he was here at a big event called IDEX, which is a defense systems and military exposition at the Abu Dhabi National Education or National Exhibit Center. And it's an amazing thing what's going on here. 57% of the world's proven oil reserves are in the Middle East, North African region. But if you get right down to what we call the Gulf Cooperative Council countries, which is Oman, Bahrain, Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, the United Arab Emirates, and Qatar. 41% of the proven gas resources are here. Houses 8 of the 12 OPEC nations. They need $30 billion a year in energy for the next 30 years. And right now, they're on course to outpace how much energy they can sell as opposed to how much they're using within a decade. For instance, Saudi Arabia is expected to use 70% of its energy it's producing today within 10 years to provide for its own development. That's going to change the economic model that they're using today in order to build all these things they're building and do what they're doing. So we're going to see a major shift if they don't diversify their portfolios, which they're already doing to a great degree. But it cannot be an oil-dependent nation or a section of the world going forward if we see clean tech coming forward and renewables at the level that we see, especially in the UK and other places in the world. The population that you look at over here is about 0.3 billion in this region. The growth is at about 1.8%. Life expectancy, 70 years. Infant mortality rate is about 32 per thousand. And in 2010, look at the per capita GNI. It's amazing. Now, what are we talking about? They have to move toward an oil-free economy over here. As a means to avoid total dependence on oil, the region has changed its outlook. We have 2030 visions, 2035 visions. We have 2050 visions. They're not going to throw the baby out with the bathwater over here and kill their baby, but they are going to have to birth new children for economic purposes that they can really expand their economic model, and create a greater resource pool for generating revenue from the different natural resources that they do have. And then looking at the fact that most of the countries here are import dependent on food. For instance, the United Arab Emirates imports 90% of its food, has very little land mass, and most of it is sand and salted by the Gulf. And the Arabian Gulf is, I walk out of my door at where I live and I'm in the Arabian Gulf. Seriously, I live right on the Gulf. And so it's an amazing thing when you look at just a small strip of land here and the buildings that you see in the foreground where it says towards an oil-free economy, those are real buildings here throughout Dubai and in Abu Dhabi. Dubai is much more expansive and brilliant in terms of the bombastic behavior of building and expanding infrastructure. But Kuwait has got a Vision 35 to expand and dilute its dependence on oil, as well as the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, which is going to spend $400 billion on infrastructure over the next 5 years. Saudi Arabia, just to give you an idea, committed $100 billion, $100 billion to solar energy alone. Just solar. Not talking about wind, not talking about bios, not talking about anything else, just solar over the next decade to 20 years. So if you're looking for a place to go find an opportunity, that might be one of them. We're talking about billions of square feet of marinas and malls and all the things that it takes to support this, including electricity, that they're going to have to shift some of their dependence on oil and because of the power output that's going to be required to continue the massive growth. In the power sector, you can kind of see what's going on here. 60,000 megawatts of planned power generation. If you look in the Middle East, North Africa, regional power generation, it's going to rise at about 1,523 terawatts by 2013. That's this year. That's not next year. That's not 5 years from now. That's this year. They increased 29.3% from 2008 to 2013. And in the United Arab Emirates alone, they topped 100%, will top 100% increase from 2007 to 2018. From 2005 to 2010, they increased their energy output here 500%. It tells you something about the growth. But what does that mean? It doesn't mean a whole lot when you have the challenge that they have. They don't have a money problem. They don't have a problem with machines. They can buy the best stuff in the world, and they do have it. If you've seen it in Star Trek or Star Wars, they've got it here. You walk through the airport, they scan your retina, they scan your fingerprints, and they got them on file forever, and then they text your phone when you do something wrong, whether that's speeding or breaking the law of any kind. You get a text on your phone saying, pay your fine today or wait 15 days and it'll double. So you kind of learn to go pay the fine early based on the fact that they got you in a network that connects your retina and your fingerprints to who you are. But knowledge is their number one challenge, and they have to bridge this gap if they're going to grow. When you look at education in this region, Saudi Arabia, they established their first major university with a 4-year university system in 1957. 73% of their folks are locals, 27% are expats, just like me. In Qatar, their university system was established in 1977, but look at their situation. 13% local, 87% expats. They are totally dependent on external communities to come in and manage and run their country no matter how much money they have. Oman, when you look at 1986, it's 70% local, 30% expats. So they have a pretty good balance there. But when you get down to Bahrain, it's about a half and a half, and they established their first university in 1986. But here in the UAE, less than 40 years old, a little bit over 40 years old, they just celebrated their 41st birthday this year. The American University in Dubai was established in 1995. They have a 13% local population and 80% expat folks. Now, what this says is, truly, they just started to graduate their first engineers and doctor's degree folks in the past 2 to 3 years. Because the first 7 or 8 years were just spent setting up their university system. Now, they've had institutions of higher learning here since the 1960s and 70s, but not true university programs like we see in the United States. That happened in 1995 here. So I've been out of school longer than they've had their longest university, folks. That's pretty amazing. So most universities and engineering institutes are fairly recent. They don't have a mature knowledge and skill level. It's going to take years to develop that. And the dependence on expat skills and knowledge as well as businesses is almost total. So knowledge partnerships, like we're doing with the iCAN program in its businesses. Les, how many businesses do you have there in iCAN? Okay, I think we got a place that these 28 businesses can go to work over here. When you look at the situation with engineers, managers, energy sector in the region, there are just not that many here local. Now, you do have the big boys like Siemens. You can go to the next slide for the big boys like Siemens and you know, GE and all those guys. But when you get down to the medium and small size business sector, not very much there. You know, we go through, we study best practices and take you all the way through the feedback loop, and we improve and replicate the knowledge and the information about the market here. And we share that information with our clients and with the folks there, Les, in your pool of 28 businesses. And we're not trying to sell them on what's going on here. It's going on here. And whether we make the money, somebody will from the UK or from Pakistan or from India or from China. They have people over here from all over the world. I mean, it's an amazing thing. The only other place I think I've been would be the US that has a multinational population like you see here. Now, I'm going to go to past the facilities and get out of here, out of this slide, Les, and get to the final slide there. Yeah, just go to the last slide. Okay, right there. The gentleman that you see in that picture, his name is Terry McDonald. He's from Alabama. We were in a smart grid masterclass back in October, which was the first class that was offered here in the UAE for a smart grid class. And that was done by my good friend who owns the Powerful Solutions Group, who's a business partner of mine. And I'm showing his slides today because he's collected great background information for you guys. The thing that we say is that talk does not cook rice over here. Even though this is the UAE and it's an Arab country, there is a Chinese proverb that fits. We have to deliver if we want to satisfy the customers over here, because they do believe in paying for what they need and they pay well. And if there are businesses in the US that we can help migrate over here via the internet or locate over here to move their product or services, if it's a manufacturing plant, they more than are able and willing to connect that to investors, business support systems, economic development groups and organizations that can help support that transition for a U.S. business over here. We just have to do the pre-qualification and the vetting and to make sure that it's a good fit and that what we're trying to do over here matches up with you and does not cause a business problems in the U.S. by trying to get off the ground. There are a number of programs that the U.S. Small Business Administration, other programs with the Department of Commerce that we've already worked through, and with the U.S. Import-Export Bank that connects to the Royal Family's arm of investment over here called Mubadala, and Arabia, which is several of the large investment houses on this side of the world that are willing to invest in a project like this. So we're looking to expand the boundaries. And that's the end of that slide. And what I'd like to do is talk a little bit now about going beyond the boundaries. Are you able to pull up the website and the PDF file? Okay. Okay. Well, what we're going to try to do with this particular piece of information we're going to share it now, and then we're going to take a break and let's have this back. Okay, that won't be the one that we want to do, Les. Let's hold off on that one for a moment. Let me just share with you what we're talking about. Here in the UAE, we have over a $350 billion surplus in 2012. 350 billion is the surplus that they have here. Amazing when you consider the deficit that we have in the United States. oil is traded in this part of the world as gold, basically, as you would know. And the only major resources they have big problems with are the ones that they need to live: food, water, and agricultural type opportunities that really push the boundaries of what they can do in terms of imports and exports and how they balance that. Um, One of the things that I wanted to show from the website, and I'll just talk through this since I don't think we have it over there, is the information concerning the, the free trade zone. The free trade zone over here allows you to own 100% of your business. It's tax-free. There's no taxes on corporations or individuals over here. And if you actually work over here, like my wife does, you can make up to $98,000 without any U.S. taxes. After that, your tax bill starts. The dirham over here, the AED, is pegged to the U.S. dollar forever. And there's about 3.685 dirhams to a dollar. So the dollar is 3.685 times more powerful. There's very low labor costs over here. There's 150 nationalities working in this area. This has a most friendly USA status, which is a favorite nation status right next to an airline status. It's virtually unaffected by Arab Spring. There are no uprisings over here. It's a natural gateway to the Middle East and North African markets, into Turkey, Azerbaijan, and all up in that area. And they have a world-class infrastructure that can support any business in the U.S. So they've done the work with Siemens, GE, the other big corporations to put in the broadband networks, the high digital networks, the infrastructure that you need, the expressways, and the building and support that you need. It's amazing what kind of service that you get over here. But this makes for a good fit for U.S. businesses. The largest gross domestic product in the Gulf Cooperative Council region is here in the UAE, larger than Saudi Arabia, believe it or not. There's over 6,000 small and minority enterprises here from 106 countries that are located here over the last 10 years in the free trade zones. That's an estimated 40,000 U.S. nationals that reside in the UAE, with about 3/10 of the live population made up of U.S. citizens. So that's a pretty large number. It's one of the world's largest and fastest growing free zones since 1985. The Jobsa free zone is spread out over about 30 square miles and is home to over 6,400 companies, including 120 Fortune 500 companies and global enterprises from across the world. Contrary to popular belief, the UAE is one of the most diverse societies in the world. It simply is unmatched in terms of a 4-year growth spurt that we've never seen before in history. It's unimaginable what they've done. Now, what we try to do is offer opportunities to businesses like on your side, there in New York, to connect to opportunities here and needs they have here to expand the boundaries, not just of our thinking, but of business opportunities. And so we believe there's a good fit here to do that. And what we've done is to look at 12 cities in the U.S. that we can take these opportunities to, called Business Beyond Boundaries. And that's what we're going to talk about, is our network for you with iCAN and with TLB networks for you over here. And we'll talk about that when we come back from the break, Les. If we can take a quick break, we come back and talk about the networked opportunities and get down into the numbers for businesses over there that are sitting in the room with you, so we can start matching them up with some of the opportunities over here, and they can begin asking some questions about some of the things that we're talking about. I don't want to bore people with too much information and throw that at you. You're not looking at the presentation that I have up. I apologize for that. But when we come back, we'll go through a couple of opportunities to look at some specific data and information related to clean tech and high tech sectors that need help in this area. So Les, if you would, you can take it back to New York, and we'll listen to you a bit over here in the UAE.